Bruce asked me to talk to you. We always give a little report about S4C, but he asked me to explain again what S4C was and to explain the competitions to some of you, and with the idea that you might want to enlarge your world and enter S4C competitions. So I have a little slideshow put together here, if you can. S4C really stands for Southern California Council of Camera Clubs. Can you go to the next slide, please? S4C was founded in 1934. It's part of a 17-member conglomerate of clubs throughout Southern California. There's clubs from Thousand Oaks and Ventura, Lancaster, Coachella Valley, San Diego, all throughout the Southern California region. And it is a council member of the Photographic Society of America, which I'll explain a little bit if we have time at the end of this. So its primary mission is really just to conduct image competitions. They view it as an opportunity for you to learn to enter competitions judge on the PSA standards really, and get practice in entering competitions. And you don't really get any feedback from the competitions or the judges. You just essentially get your scores and you can compare them to other photos in the catalog. So they also host an international competition. I know I've entered it. I think, have you entered it, Russ? The International Coachella competition?
I tried to, but I don't know where I got on it.
Yeah, that is a money-raising activity for them. So there is a charge when you enter your images, but every year they will have different categories that you can enter in, and it's an international salon. People from all over the world can enter it, and it usually has a PSA designated recognition number, and you can use your wins in those competitions to apply for honors within the Photographic Society of America. So last year I achieved the QPSA. I know Christine Pence has the QPSA. I don't know that there's anybody in the club that has anything beyond that. So they do hold an end of year competition. It used to be in person, but now it's a virtual competition where all the images that have won a gold or silver or a bronze medal or awards, or I'm sorry, where all the images who have won an award or honorable mention compete against each other in their respective categories, and you receive a gold, bronze, silver, or best of show awards at that. And it can provide some limited support to clubs, camera clubs, such as judges. We don't use in this camera club, we don't use their judging methodology. They judge from 5 to 9, so that a perfect image would be 27. We use the Professional Photographers of America standards. I think professional, where we go essentially up to 100. So we do not use their category for Redlands Camera Club. So I think probably most of us would be interested in the monthly competitions. And there's no cost to enter their competitions. The only thing you have to get is a uniform entry number, but there's no cost. You can enter up to 14 images in each competition because there are that many sections and divisions that you can enter. And then honorable mentions and awards are given in each section at each skill level. So like we have intermediate, advanced, open, apprentice. They also have entry levels. And then all the competitions are judged remotely with 3 judges participating. Any disqualified images are discussed in the full competition committee. So next slide, please, Russ. So the skill levels are similar to the Redlands Camera Club. In the monthly competition, you compete among your peers, and except for the score needed for, you compete among your peers, but there's something a little bit different about it. If you are at an advanced skill level, you have to attain a higher score to get an honorable mention or an award than if you were at an entry level. So if I put an image in, and I'll pull mine up in a minute, in a category where I'm already AA, I would have to get a 25, a 26, or a 27 to get an award or an honorable mention. In one that I am like an EE, I might only have to get 24 for my score. So that is the one thing that's different. When you start, I'll bring that one up, bring the next one up, the next slide up, please. So here's me. So I have 2 A's, and the next level I could go up to would be AAA in pictorial color division. So that when I began to win awards and honorable mentions in that division, they started moving me up. And the judges and the sort of the competition committee moves you up. So it's not like here where you can say, gee, I won best of show, but I'm going to enter an apprentice category for the next year. You know, they would move you up. So I'm at individual color, I'm at double A, but at creative, I'm only at E, an entry level, which means I haven't really entered enough photos in that category for them to make an assessment of what skill level I should be at. So this year, my goal was to enter mainly the creative area because I didn't have to score as high and kind of move my skill levels up in that area. So those are my levels. So the pictorial division, there are all of these other sections underneath the pictorial division. And I'll show you these as we go along, some examples. But in the individual color, essentially there's no restrictions. You can do whatever manipulation you want, whatever vignettes you want, whatever strokes you want. There's essentially no restrictions. Arranged color was primarily developed for studio photographers, for models, for still lifes, for situations in which you control the setting there, the stage. Arranged monotone, the same thing. Monochrome, again, there's no restrictions really, except that it can only be one color, monotone. Like I have an image, I did a bunch of things too, and it ended up being like 3 or 4 tones. And I thought, okay, the only thing I can really enter that in is probably just the plain old monotone, because I would have to enter it in creative or pictorial color because it's not truly monotone. So that's the only time that they will sometimes kick your images out if they're not truly monotone.
So you said there's 17 sections and those are
There's
5
all
of
of
them
them.
there?
There's 4 divisions. I think, let's see, pictorial. There's 4 divisions, and then those are the sections underneath the pictorial division.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Pass that around.
yeah. And I'll show some examples of each of these, but so if you do the next slide when you're ready there. So this is why I hope to sort of see them in their larger size. So because this particular photography, I don't know how well you can see that. The image on the left is really individual color. So where he just did pictorial individual color, but the one on the right is the creative, that it's missing that on that particular side, but it's creative color where he did in, I don't know if you can see that. You can't make that large, Russ, so people could see the details on it. That there's an example of arranged color and arranged monochrome. So most of the things in that category are still life. Sometimes light painting is in one of those categories. It's odd, because you have the control over the lighting, but that's typical examples of what would be in those categories, all of which are in the pictorial division. And the next one, Russ? Arranged monochrome, and then just plain monochrome. Yes. The next is the nature division. And there's two sections under nature division: general, which could include photos from the zoo, from game parks, from like sort of controlled environments. And then there is the wildlife, which is the most restrictive of all of their categories. And it essentially has to be wildlife in nature. So go ahead and show the next one. Oops, okay, so these are examples. One of them is a zoo photo, and the other one is obviously at one of the bear reserves, or the Bear Alaska there, would be my guess. But and I know that photographer, so yes, he does travel. But that's examples of a zoo photo. And then the next one, Russ. Okay, and these are examples of disqualified images, and these are mine that were disqualified. So the reason these 2 were disqualified, the first one, they're not great images anyway, but it was that the wall is way too visible. So they had, like I say, their nature division is very restrictive, and you cannot have obvious human elements that are not integral to the the story that you're trying to tell with your nature photo. So the wall, which I really didn't even think about when I put it in there, is what disqualified that image. And the other one, the little bird, was disqualified because it has a vignette around it. So they don't allow heavy vignettes. And that was just laziness on my part. I had another version that didn't have the vignette and I entered the wrong one. But, well, I happen to know why. Yes, they do. Ultimately, they will tell you when it's been disqualified and why. But I happen to be on the discussion of this, so I know why these two were disqualified. So. But so I looked at, there's a big, this is the most difficult category to enter for them, is their nature category, because they are so restrictive. But I happen to be looking at the professional photographers of California, to looking at what their categories were. And their nature categories are described as this: images where the flora and or fauna are the dominant subject and no man-made objects are visible. So we're not alone, or they're not, S4C, PSA is not alone in having that criteria. So, okay, next slide. Photo travel, no subsections in photo travel. You can have people, you can have roads, you have supposedly iconic places. So the next slide, Russ. There's an example. I believe that's that mill that everybody that goes to Colorado photographs. So iconic, well-known spot. So, and the next. Photojournalism has two sections as well. And the general part is where you would put photos that are organized sports, like the bike races, like basketball games, like football, golf, whatever. And then the human interest section is where you might put photos that emphasize emotion or contact between people. And then go ahead to the next one. Of course, the example I chose doesn't look like much contact between those two, but it was sort of a dichotomy of old and new media. So one there that you can see, that's the basketball shot, and then the other. So any questions? Yeah, next. You can go next. So if you can go to their website, which is S4Cphoto.org or S4C Photo 2. The competition rules are there. How to apply for a unified entry number is there. When you get the catalog, you see all of the people. They get as many as sometimes 700 photos, in each monthly competition. It is a lot of photos. There's a lot of sections, so there might only be 50 or 60 in each section, but it's a lot of photos. It's 17 camera clubs competing. So it is a little bigger world, I think. And so if it gives you an opportunity to see how do your pictures float there. Obviously, my two nature shots did not. So I did. So.
Are they doing the same time every month? That when it closes, is it always on the same day?
No, and if you go on their website, you can see the opening and closing days. Actually, they've extended the closing. If this were bigger, you could see that they've extended this month's deadline. It was going to close on the 8th, and now it's closing on the 15th. And I think it's because they were a little delayed in opening it. So,
so does Bruce Benet compete in this?
No, Bruce Benet competes in PPA, Professional Photographers of America. And that's a really beautiful website if you want to go and see what their competitions look like. But their nature photos are much more, they allow them to be much more manipulated, painted, backgrounds, things moved. It's more like what I might do with the painted ones that I try. But,
So Deb, in their scoring, when they sit back and you talk about the different scorings, honorable mentions and so on, they have 700 photos. Do they limit that just to 3 images out of the 700 for awards? Or
no,
if your score comes up to, let's say, 25 and you're in a
level E, you might get
level
an
E.
honorable mention, or
you might get and so everyone that would get a 25 would get an honorable mention then.
depending on your skill level.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So depending on your
Yeah.
skill level. Yeah. So yes, so there's
It's
no, at the end of the year, when they bring all these images back together, then yes, there is a silver, bronze, and gold medal, and best of show. Silver, bronze, and gold in each section, each skill level, but best of show throughout the entire thing. So, but in the monthly competitions, if you meet the algorithm and you achieve the score, you get an award or an honorable mention. They also do something that I don't get real involved with. I know Stan Fry did this a couple of years ago, where they have in each section that you enter, they have high points winners for the year. And I think Stan won in a couple of the nature sent 2 years ago, that Stan may have won in that. So that was also why I was going to try to just put everything in creative to see if I could qualify for high points winners.
But by the way, you can see Stan Fry's images on our photo block. He
Yeah.
places them there every so often. He also, if you're a friend with him on Facebook, he puts them on Facebook too. So
yeah. So I do have a few more slides about PSA, and that's why I brought some of these magazines. We are a PSA club. There was some discussion among some members as to why we don't take advantage of the opportunities that PSA offers us. And one of the things they offer is quite a few things: inter-club competitions, where we could enter photos from our club against other clubs at the end of the year in each of these divisions. They offer website competitions. They offer newsletter competitions. I can't read as much what I have there, but so no, that's okay. Some member discounts for you can see those hopefully. So next slide, please, Russ. So this is examples of winning newsletters or websites, excuse me. So I looked at that and I thought, I'm entering our new website, which I did. So I entered our new website. To the best of my knowledge, I entered it. That's I had sent you an email, Rick, about did you have our club number? But I think I can enter it under my number. So because I'm the supposed representative or liaison to them. So I thought the Pikes Peak one looked pretty neat, but the others were, I don't know, nothing that would knock you flat. So I thought we had a good chance. So next slide, please, Russ. And this is the newsletters, some winning newsletters. So, and they did have some nice newsletters, from all over the country, really. People enter the competitions. You can enter from, some of these competitions, clubs from not just the United States. It says the Photographic Society of America, but they really have clubs in India, Singapore, all over the world, really. And then the next one, Russ. That's right. You can see these are the members. Our own Christine Pence is a member of the pictorial division, for the interclub competitions. And then go ahead and show these others. But these are some examples of interclub competition images. I really like the black bases. I thought that was fabulous with the orange flowers. I thought, whoa. And this was very creative, the guy with the sandwich. So.
Falling out of it.
Yes, obviously it's a creative thing, but it's individual color, so you can put any, you can put anything you want in that essentially.
So all of those in the same category?
They're all in the same category, but they're all from different clubs and different image makers. So this is like this first round this year of those images that have qualified. They'll do round 1, round 2, round 3, so that they keep winnowing them out. There's the nature ones. So, but I just thought they had some very nice images competing this year. And then not only our club is a member, so we have some benefits as a club, but you can also join as an individual. And the individual prices are $45 to $65 a year. $65 if you want the journal sent to you, and $45 if you just want it to be digital. So I don't want any more journals coming to my house, so I do the digital one. Next image, please, Russ. And then just some individual benefits, which you can see. And some people really do get into there was a reason that I wanted to get some of these qualifications, but I'm not certain that I want to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. But each qualification that you get through their star systems and their recognition systems, you have to have so many. I think I needed to have 18 images, a total of 54 images accepted into the catalogs of various competitions. One was the fair up in Seattle, places, one in Singapore. So these competitions that you can enter, Coachella, you know, and you need to get your images accepted, and then you can go through and get some different recognitions. Last slide, please, Ross. So you can go online, find their stuff. So any questions about S4C, PSA, PSA Club, PSA Individual? Yes, Wayne.
Are the courses pretty good?
Yes, some of them are, yes. You know, I think when you do the courses, I think Dave has been doing some courses. I think Dave even talked about teaching a course, didn't he? But they are. The webinars, you know, some of the webinars are really good. Some of them are mediocre, you know, but when you go and do the classes and the study groups and the online classes, they're quite good and helpful. So.
And we can do those since we're part of.
No, the club only has what I showed back on the other side, what the club benefits are, but those are the individual benefits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was watching 3 webinars and I had to agree that I would not show them at a camera club. They were just for my personal viewing. So, but so yes, Wayne.
I don't know if you can answer this, but if you're a beginner photographer and if you don't offer that many classes here, recommend those courses or other courses you can take?
Boy, it depends. You know, they probably have some quite basic courses in PSA, you know, but I haven't looked. You know, I was looking at different level things, but I would imagine they have some, you know, sort of basic classes there. And I can't think of any place else. I mean, I do Calby 1. They always have interesting things. I would recommend that to start, you know, to get some entry information. And then I also do a group that Stephanie knows about, fluorography, which is basically flower photography, and, you know, different techniques, a lot of Photoshop techniques, but that's not an entry level class. But, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I have recommended for many years a site called creativelive.com.
Yeah.
That's creativelive.com. It's free to join. It's free to watch the broadcasts. They usually during the week, they'll do live broadcasts starting like 9 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon or so. And they'll have a mid-morning break, a lunch break, and an afternoon break. But then shortly after they finish their live broadcast, they'll replay it again for those people that work or something like that they can't see the live broadcast. And so they'll completely play it without the breaks. And then after that finishes that broadcast, they'll play it again late at night.
Right.
And you can go onto their website and check their calendar. They cover a ton of different stuff, all the way from Photoshop to Lightroom to doing compositions to equipment to whatever you can think of. And they actually have a number of different subjects. I think everything from like quilting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you get into the photo section, there's a lot of different classes that they do on a regular basis. And like I said, it's free to join. It's free to watch the broadcasts. And the way they make money is if you see a broadcast that you really like and would like to keep replaying it or keeping it, you can actually purchase classes through them too. But the best thing is go on, look at their weekly lineup of what they're going to be doing, and then RSVPing, sign up for the class, or you can just log in and click on watch the video and watch the class right then and in the morning without having to do anything else. But they do cover a lot of stuff, and usually they're pretty good classes on what they're doing.
I remember even going on and learning, like, how do you learn your new camera? You know, like, how did I, yeah.
Yeah, they've
But
got.
I haven't gone to that site for a long time, but yeah.
Yeah, they will go over a number of different cameras and telling you how to work
Yeah.
them.
Okay, I'm done if you want to do your videos or whatever, Russ.
Well, I would like to thank Deborah for her presentation this evening.